Alright, hello and welcome back everybody. This is David with Faramir's Rangers. And we're picking back up with this multiplayer matchup. This is a 4v4 on the Syrian Ridge. And we're doing our Nations versus Nations tournament. And in this matchup, that's right, you're staring down the Austrians. The Austrians are going to be taking on the Ottoman Empire. And this is going to be a pretty nice matchup. The Austrians come in with the record of 1-0 versus the Ottomans coming in with the record of 1-1. So, yeah, the Austrians are trying to stay undefeated in this match, while the Ottomans look to come out of this with a winning record if they pull off the win in this one. So we'll see who pulls it off. Obviously, this is the home field of the Ottomans, as they have heat fatigue resistance, and they're definitely going to need it on this map. And the Ottomans look to be on the attack in the center. And over here, it looks like we got a little flip-flop action by the two Ottoman players as they are switching. It looks like the flank player decided to go center, and the center player wanted to go flank. And I'm going to be playing as the Austrians here on the right flank for Austria with the green around the flag. And yeah, things are going to get ramped up here pretty soon. Let's just take a survey of the battlefield. As you can see here, looks like things are going to be pretty quiet in the center, but the flank over here, Ottoman player is playing very aggressive. Looks like they're going to get some nice shots in on the Austrians here. And yeah, let's check back over here, because either they're going to push fast on the flank or they are going to spread out, and it looks like they are going to do the latter. Over here, I'm going to try and get shots with my Wimbushé Jaegers. See if I can get some sweet shots in here. So the thing about the Wimbushé Jaegers, obviously they're going to have a wind rifle, so they don't have to reload like the musket firing units. So that makes them the fastest firing unit in the game, as once again they don't have to reload, they just keep popping off shots. And over here, I'm sitting up on top of the dune, and I get the first shot off on the Ottomans, but unfortunately they're kind of still in that woods. I thought I'd get a better shot off on them. As you can see, their shot right back at me doesn't go well for me. My second shot is going in, but my guys sort forward, and I take a lot of damage because of that. This is one problem that the Wimbus have. And over here, I'm getting flanked by the other Ottomans' rifles. So I've got 4 rifles versus my 2 Wimbus. So I'm going to have to pull them back. The poor Wimbushé Jaegers take it right in the pants on this one. But that's okay. We can flip the tables on them here in a little bit. Hopefully. Alright. So, things are quieting down over there. Over here, things are definitely ramping up as the Ottoman player is looking to push this flank. And the Austrian over here has got his Wimbushé Jaegers, and he is going to start laying down fire on his the Ottoman player's flank over here. We'll see how that goes down. I don't know if you've ever played any matches on the Syrian Ridge, but I can tell you that traversing this map is not easy. Your guys wear out quite fast, so it's something you have to keep in mind, especially if you're on the advance. Now, obviously, like I said before, the Ottomans are going to have an advantage. As we see here, the Wimbushé Jaegers taking up a nice position in this like little wooded area. I don't know if you can call it that because it's got palm trees. I just don't. I guess you would call it a little oasis along the little bank of the lake back there. But they're going to get some nice shot in on those Armenian archers. Nonetheless, over here, the Ottoman players making a nice push off the hill. So we'll see how that goes for them. But they're definitely getting some nice ground picked up here in the center. As you can see, the Austrians trying to oppose them with that push. Alright, let's see what happens here. Now, one thing you got to be careful of attacking that hill is shooting the ground. Over here, the Austrian player's about to lose a militia. But that's acceptable. Especially if he's able to whittle down some of these Ottoman players' units. And get some of their cav hopefully taken out. Over here on the left, things are not looking good for the Austrian player. As you can see, they are taking a beating over here on this flank. The Ottoman cav is definitely got the superiority over here. As you can see, the Nazim cadet infantry. Nazim, or however you say it. But they're putting a beating down on these Austrian lines. They're outnumbered quite a bit. And the Austrian lines have low morale. Whereas the Ottomans have high morale. So that equals disaster for the Austrians. And you can see here, Austria does have a couple of guard units, and things are not going well for the Ottomans here on this side. A lot of units here in the center still. Over here, I'm being pushed on this flank, and I'm trying to move up a little bit at a time. Using my Wimbushés as a anchor point for which I can get some shots in and push forward. I'm trying to get as many kills on their infantry as possible while they try to shoot my Wimbus with their rifles. My goal is to whittle down their infantry, and you can see I've done fairly good with that so far. Because Ottoman armies usually are typically very large, but also the Austrian armies are very large, as you get 150 men per line, and they're also fairly cheap units, except the line is a little more expensive, but you can usually get some pretty good builds. But in this, all of us are taking Wimbushé Jaegers, as the Grenzer is the other option, which is probably the best of the light infantry for the Austrians. But the problem with them on this map is you have to keep running them forward with the 90 range, and that is a clear disadvantage because you will wear out quite quickly. As you can see here, the remnant of the Austrian forces here are getting routed off the field. The Ottomans here are being pushed back in the center, where the Austrians have superior firepower with the guards as they push forward. So the Ottomans are no match for these Austrian guards, and also those Wimbushé Jaegers are holding down some pretty good suppressing fire. So yeah, over here the rifles for the Ottomans are getting shot up by the guards, which is unfortunate because they could have used those rifles to whittle down those guards, but it is what it is. Here in the center, the Ottoman player is not really pressing forward with any of his units to support. The Ottoman player on this side of the center has wrapped up my flank mate on the center, and I'm being put under constant pressure over here by the flank player's push, which is doing quite well because it is forcing me back a little bit. But I am constantly inflicting damage upon him. With this map, you have to really watch out for the little dunes when you're shooting. Otherwise, you could end up shooting dirt. So that's one thing you really have to concern yourself with. Here's what I was talking about earlier. You can see that the Ottoman player has really pushed around my ally over here in the center, as he's got his cav out. Unfortunately, the other Ottoman player in the center is not helping the center push. Otherwise, they have our armies basically split apart. But now my other ally is using his light dragoons to help. Not really sure why my mate in the center folded back in a curl like that and didn't spread out and hold the line. But nonetheless, we've been split apart. As you can see here, this fight in the woodland, which is pretty sweet. Getting down and dirty in here. Looking pretty good. Alright, so we can just partake of some of the sweet action in here, getting some close-ups in. I just love the fighting on this map. It looks so awesome. Really unique setting here compared to some of the other maps we play on. I really love it. Get some great views in here. As you can see, the Ottoman player really is doing a nice push here. You see in the background, he's got his hand mortars getting some nice damage in there in the background. While he's got his Nazim line getting some really nice volleys in. Looks like he's bringing up his Israelis up to take on the guard so that it takes the damage instead of their better lines, sorry. Well, as over here, excuse me, those hand mortars have done quite a bit of damage on the Austrians here. Oh my goodness. These two guards are just completely enveloped here by a lot of Ottoman troops. Even though these guards are definitely very high-powered firing units, they're really outmatched, but they do have some support from their cav, which is going to help them quite a bit. But you can see the Ottomans have the complete center. The fight has gone for the turn for the different over here, as the Austrian center has pushed back the Ottomans and has now pushed their flank all the way to the edge. And the Ottoman center player over on this side is really struggling as he's bulked up his units very poorly, and he is going to get damaged severely by those Austrian guards. Over here, things are going much better for the Ottomans, but they are starting to lose some units as I am starting to win my fight on the flank, so I'm able to assist with my grenadiers over here, and that's going to help beat down this center part of the battlefield over on our fight. You see the Nazim line are still back in there entrenched, so I'm going to send the grenadiers to try and knock them out. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this line fight over here. As you can see, we did get cav charged in the back by the Ottoman player in the center. Nice cav push there. And you can see this up close and personal line fight that's going on. It's really nice. Like I said, it's some really, really great battlefield. As you can see how I've whittled down my opponent here in the on the flank, and now he's got just 3 units and I've got quite a few, so I'm gonna be able to start wrapping him up, and this is gonna spell doom for these last remaining Ottoman units on the flank. And here I'm using my grenadiers to wipe out the remainder of these units over here, where I had already knocked out the rest of the units in the center. So the grenadier really wraps things up there and turns the tide. And you can see still one of the Ottoman cav is behind us. And over here, the Ottoman player's really done a nice job beating down this portion of my allies' flank over here. Again, all these units that this player has could have really spread things out and assisted the Ottoman ally, or his Ottoman ally on the flank. He's even got 3 more line coming up. You got to spread your units out quite a bit for the Ottomans. You can't shoot 5 ranks deep like these guards can. The guards can shoot ranks deep. Now there's one Austrian line here, but you can see how the Austrian guards, they can shoot all the way back, so you can have them in a condensed form. But these Nazim lines, and all the Ottoman lines for that matter, cannot shoot platoon fire. So you must spread them out to make them effective, to get the most firepower out, because that's the name of this game, is bringing the most firepower to bear against your enemy. And that's how you can win. Because if your enemy brings more firepower against you, they're going to win. So you've got to get the edge in the firepower fight. As you can see here, that's the last of those 3 remaining units that I had wrapped up. And that's going to be the end for them, even though there was a couple of units that were fairly strong, but just being outnumbered and surrounded and getting constant fire put in them, they're going to quickly rout off the battlefield, I would assume. Yeah, we can see if they do get a little bit of shot. The problem is sometimes when you spread out like that, if you pick a target that's not directly in the center, your unit won't shoot all the men. So that's another thing you gotta pay attention for. As you can see here, again, the Ottoman player here is losing this fight. They might as well just leave this fight, but he continues in, pouring more and more men into this fight. And you can see here all the bodies that have been dropping, and we still have these 3 Austrian units standing tall versus these Ottomans, which continually are pouring more units in. Over here it still stands still. The Austrians have that fight won. They could actually push that win, but they're choosing to hold the ground. Over here the flank has been completely wrapped up, and now I'm assisting my ally. So now we are on the offensive here on this side, coming in from both sides of the dune. Let's see if we can get a close-up of this. As you can see, the Chiaros are getting their due diligence against the Austrian militia as they rout out the militia. And here you can see I'm making an assault on the hill to push these Ottomans off. And over here, I'm going to look to get a shot in on these Chiaro, which were trying to support his ally and got caught out in the open ground without cav support. So I'm going to take advantage of that, get some free shots in on him as he tries to get back to reinforce his flank. All right, so things are getting wrapped up here pretty nicely. As you can see, we have won our flank now, even though things were looking pretty poor in the center. And again, on this flank, things were looking poor on the far left flank, but now because of the center, we have really evened up that fight. And you can see here again, not many of the guards for the Austrians have been killed by these Ottomans. And again, you can only shoot 3 ranks on these Nazium line. They rank fire, but against platoon fire, you need all your men to come to bear. Look at all those men that didn't even get a shot. So you're just taking damage, and you're not giving them as much damage as they're dishing out to you. So, for example, if you have 120 men versus 120 men, and they're able to shoot all 120, and you're only able to shoot 60, that's a disadvantage for you. So you got to fix that disadvantage, and that's what's not happening here. As you can see, they're just going to continually get whittled down. Finally, he does decide to pull out of that fight a little bit too little, too late. And over here, the battle has been won on this flank. So that's going to pretty much wrap this battle all up. I hope you guys did enjoy. This was a really fun battle, and I think things progressed pretty nicely. If you did enjoy, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, as it does make you aware of future content and also keeps you in the loop. Now, let me just wrap up by saying that the Austrians are going to elevate their record in this tournament to 2-0, and the Ottomans are going to drop to 1-2. And this will finish off their week 3 matchup. And don't fear, they have quite a bit of time, the Ottomans, to right the ship to see if they can make it. As you can see the results here. So, not bad. You can see the one Ottoman player did not get much damage. And again, that's because you got to bring all your firepower to bear. Otherwise, you get those kind of results. Alright, so we'll see you on the next battle. And I appreciate you, as always, for joining. We'll see you on the next one.